We knew this time would come. As Panthers fans, we knew the trades were incoming, but this one I didn't expect. Talk about it.
Hey, I thought it was all over.
What is up, y'all? It is Nick. This is Roll Coverage. Let's get into it. We're talking my Panthers today. I'm going to try and keep this one pretty short. I'm going to try and keep it under about 5, 7, 8 minutes. But it is specifically talking about what just happened. Shout out Dove Kleiman. He's my go-to. Panthers wide receiver Terrace Marshall has requested permission to seek a trade per Jeremy Fowler. Obviously, we have more people on the block possibly and everything like that, with the rumors being that we also have Dante Jackson, Jeremy Chin, and possibly others. Many have speculated Luvu, and then, of course, Brian Burns, which we'll get to. First of all, Terrace Marshall, I thought you were great. I thought coming out of college you could have been something. I thought you were essentially a B to Jamar Chase. I thought it could have been something great. Come to find out, you're closer to a D. Obviously, you still can produce and everything like that. And if he ends up going to Kansas City and balling out, I think it'll be more of an indictment on the Panthers organization, on the play calling to this point. Which again, I will give Frank the L on that part, even though I'll defend him. I think we are in a very odd position. Now, obviously, a lot of people are going to continue to go on with a lot of our trades. Shout out to everybody that we've been going back with. I'm just going to go through some people. Unnecessary Bluntness, Slickwick, Westside, even though I'm not the biggest fan of Westside, me and Monty, not Frank Reich, Rimmer, Foreman, everybody over at C3 and everything. I appreciate y'all. But yeah, man, I don't know what the proper thing is moving forwards. Now, last night I went on a tangent, hop into Twitter Space. It's C3 does. Shout out to y'all. Everybody's great over there. Hopped in there and basically said, we're at the point now where I have said that Frank's job is safe. So we're just going to move on past that. Yes, I'm a Frank supporter as of right now. That's because we're 6 games into this. And again, he was our first quarterback. So I'm giving him a lot of cachet in this organization. The fact that we would jettison our first quarterback after we brought him back to be a head coach so quickly would absolutely show potential free agents, rookies, and everything like that. This isn't a place you want to be. Our GM hasn't paid Brian Burns, all that other stuff. So, Panthers, what should we do? Yes, Terrace Marshall wants to trade. Let him go get one. Let him go where he needs to be. But what do we need? Because obviously we're losing some pieces now. When it comes to the free agents, I like to use Spotrac, okay? Spotrac.com, SPOTRAC.com. Go on there, change it to 2023, which is the one that we're currently in. I'm going to change it to unrestricted free agents and currently available. So out of the free agents that are available, of course, there's tons of quarterbacks and all that. But we don't need that. We need some wide receiver pieces. So off the top, again, this doesn't show injuries. So if some of these guys aren't there, I understand. This is just kind of some names to think about. People that we could have signed up to this point, Julio Jones is out of it, but Robbie Anderson, Kenny Galladay, Jalen Rieger, Jarvis Landry, Traquan Smith, Cam Sims, Jamison Crowder. I think he announced his retirement, though, so he's done. Sammy Watkins. I like Denzel Mims, Rashad Higgins, and the Falcons actually just picked up Demir Bird. So there's that. Quentin Cephas, Laquan Treadwell. I mean, there's some ones. T.Y. Hilton. He's old, but, man, I'd still take him. Dude who I love his name, Little Jordan Humphrey. If I could ever get him on the show, I'd love to. It's just so different. I'm all for it. But I think we need to get to the point now is to remember this. A lot of people want us to trade. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, it's a little crazy. I just shifted around the setup the other day, so I'm still getting used to it. As a Panthers fan, I want us to build. I don't want us to explode. I don't want us to blow it up. I don't want us to do any of that. I want us to build over time. The one that everyone keeps going to, and the one that I will not be on anybody's side for, is Brian Burns. Brian Burns doesn't need to go anywhere. 25-year-old pass rusher. I don't care if you give me 3 first-round picks right now. And again, a bunch of people are going to be like in the comments, like, oh, 3 first-round picks. I do not trust the front office and GM with a roll of toilet paper, let alone first-round picks. So I'm not going to bleed into this idea that, oh, hey, you know what we need to do? we just really need to bite the bullet, and we just need to let Scott Fitterer get more draft picks and get rid of a 25-year-old pass rusher. That's a good idea, guys. We'll replace him in the draft, or we'll replace him down the road. Okay, guys. So let's throw that scenario out there. The ones that people want us to trade are Dante Jackson, cornerback, with no replacement for that corner. So that's another hole. They want us to get rid of Frankie Luvu, possibly. Again, who are we going to replace him with? You want us to get rid of Brian Burns. Who are we going to replace him with? Jeremy Chin is now hurt. We can't trade him until the offseason. But again, I've said that we should give him a tiny deal, 2 year, $4 or $5 million, get him back on the team, and then if it doesn't work, he'll be a super easy contract to trade. Overall, though, I just don't know what the solution is. Again, if you want to trade Brian Burns and you have a proper solution, listen, if we were going to go out there and we're going to be like, hey, man, I'm going to give you Brian Burns, I'm going to give up Frankie Luvu, and we're going to trade those two to the Cowboys for Micah Parsons. Well, we're going to go trade him for Nick Bosa or TJ Watt or, somebody like that. Then, yeah, I understand, because we're trying to upgrade that position. We're trying to get more of a pass rush, all that other stuff. But you're not. You just want to get a pick and then hope that the guy that you take out of the school that I'm going to keep using, just because it sticks in my mind. Just in case you guys don't know, I'm a huge NCAA football 14 fan. I can't wait for the new NCAA game to come out. And the one team that I've been wanting to rebuild that I just haven't, because I haven't re-downloaded all the new updates and everything, is Western Kentucky. So I'm just going to use that. I promise I'm not hating on any Western Kentucky players or anything like that. It's just that's not a school you think of when it comes to high-powered players. So again, do we need to go out and have Fitterer go out and pick a linebacker out of Western Kentucky or out of my favorite team, Duke? We're going to go out there and get it and hope that this kid can actually do it. Meanwhile, we have a guy that coming into the season was ranked 8th overall linebacker. Like, I don't see it. I'm actually going to pull up something else, actually, that somebody brought up. I'm not going to put it on the screen. It is actually somebody that was talking about wide receiver number ones. I will shout you out. This is originally from Panthers Culture. It was then quote tweeted by Charlotte Sports Fan, or SZN, where he said AJ Brown, Metcalf, Cooper Kupp, Stefon Diggs, Devontae Adams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tyreek Hill, Devo T, Chris Godwin, Michael Thomas. Arguably the best player in franchise history was a third-round wide receiver, and folks think we need a first. I don't disagree. I just don't see really anybody on here as a wide receiver, true wide receiver. Now follow me. There's some big names on there, and I'm going to get to why. Michael Thomas has been hurt for years. He's wide receiver 2. Chris Olave is better. Michael Thomas could come in and affect change, but if your number one is Michael Thomas, you're going to... Sorry. Chris Godwin is great. I like Chris Godwin. A little shorter. I prefer height. I like the 6'4" or higher, or really 6'3" or higher wide receivers. So I'm going to be a little biased on that. Chris Godwin is young. I just think that he's not a true wide receiver 1, especially because he has had a few nagging injuries over the last few years. For some people, they're going to call cap on that. Injury. I'm going to pull up his injury history, which I use Draft Sharks for. Shout out Draft Sharks. He has had an injury in December of 19, September of 20, September of 20 again, October of 20, November of 21, December of 21. He had 2 injuries on December of 21. That was the ACL, MCL tear. And then he has another grade 1 thigh hamstring / pull September 8th, 22. So in the matter of 3 years, he's had a decent amount of injuries. Now, don't get me wrong. It could get better. He's 27, just 27.6. I was about to say that. 4.42, 40, 6'1", 208. I wouldn't hate it, but I wouldn't consider him a 1. I personally would call him a wide receiver 2. If he can come out and be their definitive wide receiver 1, 1,300 yards, 8 touchdowns this year, then I'll give it to him, but I need a little bit more from Chris Godwin. T. Higgins is not a number 1, and after he almost killed Damar Hamlin, I think that T. Higgins' career has fundamentally changed. I'm going to challenge somebody. Going to be 2 growls, 1 roar. He is a genius. Shout out, dude. I was watching him do the breakdown of a lot of the Panthers games and everything. I love it. I want to know, what is T's production pre-Damar Hamlin hit as opposed to post-Damar Hamlin? Now, I don't have to go his whole career. Just if there's only been 10 games since the Damar Hamlin hit, then just use that. But 10, whatever it's got to be, equal on both sides. And I'm really curious how that's going to flesh out, because I do not believe in T. Debo. Oh well, apparently we already have Debo with Laviska, so we can move on. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Debo, I love, but Debo is a 49er and should stay a 49er forever. He works in that system. He's amazing. He's a great wide receiver. I should take it back. He's a good wide. No, I'm gonna say he's a great wide receiver. He's not a top 10. He's not even a wide receiver. I'd say he's like a 1.5. Just because he splits so much out of the backfield and everything, but he is so dynamic. The first wide receiver one I would say on here is Tyreek Hill, but obviously age is going to be a factor here soon. I believe he's 31. The only reason why I say that is because I wanted to play some Madden this morning, and my Xbox only had Madden 20 installed. So I was like, screw it, I'll boot it up. And to see Luke Kuechly back on my Panthers and all that. Tyreek Hill's a 96 in that game. That was crazy. He's 29. Okay, so that's not too bad. I'd probably still take him then at that point. Dolphins aren't going to get rid of him, though, so that's your first wide receiver one. Amon-Ra St. Brown. This is a tough one for me because I do think we need a little bit more. This year is his deciding thing. Is Amon-Ra St. Brown a wide receiver one? I think that he will end the year wide receiver 2, and I don't mean that on the depth chart. A lot of people are going to come at me and be like, "Oh, well, Devontae Adams is wide receiver number 1, or this person is wide receiver 1 on the depth chart." It's like, no. In my mind, a wide receiver 1 is somebody that you put into a game and they take over. Somebody that you can build your team around, and especially since this is in reference to my Panthers, for example, things that I would want Bryce Young to have, somebody to grow with. And do I think a 30-plus-year-old wide receiver and Adam Thielen is the best option? But yeah, I think this is Amon-Ra's chance. But again, I still think he'll end up wide receiver 2. I think most teams play the majority wide receiver 2s at this point. Very few have a wide receiver 1. Obviously, we're going to get to the next one, which I do believe is a wide receiver 1, Davante Adams. But Davante Adams does have one thing that the other ones don't. Davante Adams. Injury history. But I'm not worried about the injury history as much as I'm worried about this. His age. He is turning 31. Now, we already have a 33-year-old Adam Thielen, so I'm not really happy about that. And he hasn't been injured since November 15th of 2020, so that's good. He's upset about what's happening in LA, so they're going to want to get him out of there. If you want to go get Davante Adams, I think you can give up TMJ, to be honest, right now. Let me back up. Panthers should give up Terrace Marshall Jr., second-round pick this year, which is going to be like 33 or whatever. We'll basically have the number 1 pick in the second round, to the Raiders for Davante Adams. Now, a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, man, he's going to go for a 1 and everything." I don't think he is. I think he's going to go for a 2 or worse. Like, mark my words, okay? I went in with last night with C3 and everybody. Again, shout out all y'all. I love everything that you guys are doing. Don't have to agree with you all the time, but I appreciate you guys letting me come on there and talk last night in the Spaces. And the one thing that I would say is I think it's going to be really funny when Derrick Henry gets traded and Derrick Henry goes for a 4th-round pick, 5th-round pick, because they want to offload that salary. We're not paying anybody with the Panthers, so I would take him in a heartbeat. I would take Davante Adams, and I'm going to get back to this wide receiver thing, but just watch. Watch when Derrick Henry goes for something like a really subpar pick, and everyone's kicking themselves in the ass about it. And I was the one that said, "Man, you guys should have made the move. You should have made the move." Just like Isaiah Simmons from the Cardinals, nobody thought that Isaiah Simmons would go for a 7th-round pick. Somebody had to make the call. Somebody closed the deal, and it made everybody else look dumb. So I think that's going to happen with a lot of these trades. In fact, I think a lot of these players on these teams are not going to be on their teams in the future. One of which being Davante Adams, Stefon Diggs, and Cooper Kupp. I could honestly also see Metcalf being gone, but the next one, Stefon Diggs. After coming off of our real first wide receiver 1 of the list, in my opinion, besides Tyreek, because again, I think Tyreek has the speed for it. I wouldn't say he's necessarily the best, like, quote unquote, route runner. Don't get me wrong; he could run the routes like crazy, but I think there's more technical players. Again, I can't take anything away from him. He's amazing. I'm not taking anything away from you, Cheetah. I promise. But like when I think of like a wide receiver 1, you think of these two names: Davante Adams, Stefon Diggs needs a change of scenery. He needs something new. I want to look up the thought of process about where he could. So obviously he's going to have to leave the Bills, and again, most of the time they're going to flip it to the other division, the other conference. Niners aren't going to go get him because they don't need him. Eagles just got Julio Jones. Lions don't really. Bucks, no. The Cowboys would be an interesting. Boy, that'd be an interesting. Don't get me wrong, I'd love for Stefon Diggs or Devontae Adams to come to my Panthers too. That would meet my qualifications. But Seahawks, Rams, Commanders. I mean, there's some interesting ones out there. But I do think that the Stefon Diggs, Josh Allen stuff is real. I think that it is not something that's going to go away, and I think that he's at the point to realize that Josh Allen is not going to be able to win at the highest level, just because Josh Allen wants to win because of Josh Allen. He doesn't want the Bills to win. That's my opinion. That's a whole separate argument, but regardless, I think Diggs is a 1, but at this point he's sliding to a 2, strictly because he's with Josh Allen. I do believe that if he was to come to Carolina, he'd be a wide receiver. If he was to go to the Vikings, outside of Justin Jefferson, of course, he'd be a wide receiver. So there'd be a lot of places, but right now that stench of the Bills is hanging over him. So I think that is going to change here soon. Cooper Kupp, love Cooper Kupp. I think he's great. Puka Nacua in there too with the Rams. Obviously, they need to move forward with a new quarterback. My info I had to read before the year is that they would tank, trade Aaron Donald at the end of the year, or closer towards the end of the year, or the trade deadline. I'd probably trade him at the trade deadline since I don't think he has a no trade. Verify that. You have a no trade? Yes, they did. So they did include a no trade clause. This is Pro Football Rumors, June 7th, 2022, where it says Rams included a no trade clause in Donald's revised contract. If that's the case, and he does have a no trade, can't really get him out of there unless it's someplace he wants to go. Steelers honestly need some help. I'd probably trade him to Pittsburgh to let him go be with Watt for a year, maybe 2. You're not really going to have to deal with them whole much, as I think it's going to hold him back a little bit until he's ready to actually make the breakthrough. So you do that. That gives you some more picks. Cooper, I think, should stay on the team, but I think the Stafford experiment is over. I think Stafford will be traded or shopped at some point. If Stetson Bennett wasn't hurt, I believe he would be the starter. But other than that, yeah, Cooper Kupp, would I make him a wide receiver 1? He's going to be a wide receiver 1 if you accept the Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen is wide receiver 1 because he's in Carolina. I don't think that. I think it's just target share. Cooper Kupp is ultra dynamic, but now you have Puka Nacua, younger, going to be able to keep you going, and I think that basically signed Cooper Kupp's future. My Panthers, I would trade for him right now, no problem. DK Metcalf, I do agree, is a wide receiver 1, though he is a fringe wide receiver, especially now with Jackson Smith-Jigba there. I think they'll end up moving with Tyler Lockett moving forwards and then trade Metcalf, so watch out for that. Personally, I think Metcalf probably headed to the Commanders, but that's just. And then A.J. Brown, I love A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown's going to get a lot more interesting matches this year, especially now with the acquisition. Assuming it goes through, he passes the physical of Joe Jones. But yeah, overall, I just don't know what my Panthers are going to do. I just kind of went into that one. Shout out Charlotte. Soon. I always call him Charlotte Season. It's not. It's CLT_sports fan. Also, season on. A pretty vocal Panthers guy. We don't always agree on stuff, but hey, I was really interested. But I want to pass it off to you guys. Okay, we are Panthers fans. We're trying to get through this. We're trying to improve. We're trying to do all that other stuff, but we need to start getting to the point where we need to hold these wide receivers accountable and call them for what they are. EMJ was good. He's not great. Adam Thielen is good, not great. AJ Brown is great. Stefon Diggs is great. Devontae Adams are great. Cooper Kupp is great. I think that we need to stop giving great to so many mid players. One of those people that I would say is Amari Cooper. I just happen to see it because of the whole Deshaun Watson. But yeah, it's official. Terrace Marshall Jr. has requested a trade from my. I don't know what we're going to do. But again, if it was me, Nick, pro coverage, GM of the Panthers, sign Burns to a 6 or 7 year deal, $25 million, no problem. Get all buttoned up and give him a big old signing to keep. I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean just to keep him happy, so I don't have to deal with this again until he's 30 plus. In which case, I'll probably look at trading him. That would be the time. That's normally when I look at trading him. 31 ish is when they need to start moving on. Same thing. Frankie Louvu. Frankie Louvu needs to get a contract. Needs to get an extension with a bunch of money. Get him paid. Get him back in there. We need to get a corner. The one that I've said. See it on my feed. Just in case you guys don't follow me on Twitter or X. Full Coverage Pod. I came up with the idea of that we should trade for Patrick Surtain. Trade Dante Jackson and a pick. That's all it would take. And get him out there. Jackson and getting Surtain in this defense, giving our DC the opportunity. Obviously, trying to see it in the future. I would rather see what's going to come open soon and overpay a little bit for wide receiver 2, a little bit, for a really good wide receiver 2, a T. Higgins, sure. But I don't think it's worth trading a Louvu, Dante Jackson, a Burns, anybody like that. Those ones I would keep out. You want to trade TMJ, Chin, or any of those for him, that's fine. But we really need to pay Burns. We need to pay Louvu. We need to get this offense started. Give Thomas Brown the opportunity to go. Yeah. I'm not gonna do this too crazy. I said this would only be a 6 to 7 minute video. 22 minutes right before I started editing. I'm gonna stop now before I continue on this crazy tangent. I am Nick. This is World Coverage.